Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever or whenever you happen to be listening to this. Thank you for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja based event and wedding photographer Tavishima Ayede. At the last recording, if I remember correctly, we looked into why it's not a good idea to blow someone's phone up incessantly. Don't keep calling back and trying to reach them without pause. But rather, try calling a couple of times, leave a text message, let the text message show who you are. It should identify you if the person hasn't met you before. And if you guys have met before and you already have a few things up and running, leave a brief text message that shows what the agenda is and why they need to get back to you. And just leave it at that. Leave the ball in their court. And then you take your calendar or your CRM, your Evernote, your Google documents, your Post-it notes, your diary, your whatever it is that you use to track your interactions with customers and business partners and potential business partners. Just make a note there, and so you'll get back to them on whenever the next date that you think you can reasonably reach out to them again. And it's because when you keep trying to blow up people's phone, when you keep calling and haranguing them unnecessarily, they're going to feel harassed. It's going to cause a lot of tension and apprehension every time they see your name on the caller dial. And that is not what we want to establish when we're trying to build a relationship either with customers, potential customers, or people that we do business with. We want that whenever they see our name on the missed call, they can only think of happy thoughts or constructive thoughts. So that's what we should be aiming for. All right, so now let's go back to where we were before that, what should I call it, diversion. I had been talking about sales templates, contract templates, the relationship between those two, which is more important, why should you use one and not the other, and then on and on. And so I'm going to get back on that soapbox today. Now, it's no secret that in Abuja at least, and I suspect Lagos, at least back when I was in Lagos, that there are people who are of the contract camp and who say that you need ironclad contracts from the get-go. Now, if you've listened to the last 2 or 3 episodes, I hope you kind of see why that's not necessarily the case, that it's not about the contracts per se, but it's about how you establish expectations and get a sense of what it is that your potential customer wants. Get a sense of the bride and groom's expectations and make those expectations clear, and of course feed the expectations back to our brides and grooms and their families so that we don't have any quarrel or any issue either in the run-up to the wedding, while the wedding is being executed, or after everything is totally done. So, I guess it's obvious what I'm partial to, and that I believe that your sales template is much more important than your contract template. Now, this is also another reason why I think your sales template, or your sales process, or your sales philosophy, or your sales framework, or whatever it is that you want to call it, because I've noticed some people get touchy when you use some words. If you say sales template, they'll say, "Oh no, I beg, I'm not a robot, I want to be free. How can you be saying sales template?" I'm just saying, pick whatever it is, your sales philosophy, your sales practice, your whatever, is much more important than your contracting process. And the reason why that's the case is because your sales template, your sales process, your sales philosophy, if done right, is going to reduce friction in the buying and the selling process, which is what we really want. We want things to move along smoothly without friction, because if things move on smooth without friction and there's plenty of trust in the process, when things spring up that were unanticipated, because there's no animosity here, and because things have been moving along in a convivial process, it makes it a whole lot easier for somebody to just pick up the phone and to say, hey bro, I thought we agreed this is what's happening, and then you guys can hash it out in the phone conversation, and then life goes on. So your sales process done right is going to reduce friction in the buying or in the selling process, and it's going to do that because if done right, it's going to help establish trust. Because if you have a solid sales process, it looks like you're a professional, like you've done this before, you're leading them capably and confidently through the whole process, they're going to trust that, this guy is a correct guy. He knows what he's doing. It's clear that this guy is a good wedding photographer. It's not just the day that he started his job. It's clear that Kemi knows what she's doing as a wedding planner. It's clear that she's a pro, the way that she's leading us through the whole process. And another reason why it helps to reduce the friction in the buying process for them or in the selling process for you is because the sales process, part of the goal of the sales process is actually to find out what it is that your brides and grooms, what it is that they want. So it doesn't matter which training that you're taking, whether you're looking at Grant Cardone or whether you're looking at Brian Tracy or whether you're looking at Tom Hopkins or Miller Hyman or spin selling or whatever sales process it is that you're looking at. There are also some Nigerian gurus in quote, and I'd like to say in quote because I find it funny when you see people who are sales trainers and they're selling, but then you look at their CV, you look at them and it's like, this guy really hasn't sold anything, or this babe hasn't sold anything. She just finished from Madonna University, and then next thing she's a sales consultant because she has read a few books. Anyway, that's a rant I'm not going to get into. So, but I'm just saying that no matter who it is that you follow, whether it's the boy or the girl who just finishes from Madonna University and decides to start, or Tom Hopkins and the much more established people who've been doing this since before I was born, there's no sales process that teaches you how to just flog your services just as it is. Every process, every sales trainer, every process, every framework will get you to try and answer one underlying question. What is it that these people want? And that is what we should be focused on. So in the beginning, as a wedding photographer, it's not just about collecting the money, but you have to get a sense of what it is that they want. If you are a documentary guy like me, but the documentary guys, we have this like paparazzi style. So we're following everything as it's live, different angles, sharp, plenty of energy and all that. But if you want people who want things, with a bride who wants it to be much more slowed down, much more deliberate, much more sophistication, idealized shots, plenty of Photoshop, stuff like that, you need to tackle that at the beginning and say, oh, sorry, that's not the kind of thing I do. I think you should be speaking to so and so. Maybe you've already spoken to X, Y, and Z photographer, so you guys have a relationship where you send business their way, they give you a cut, or whatever it is that you do. But bottom line is you need to sort that out from the beginning. Like, find out what they want. If it is not what you can provide, let them know from the beginning, like, sister, this is the kind of thing I do. From what you're saying, I'm a bit skeptical. Are you sure? Have that conversation up front, so at the end of the day, there's no quarrel. So wedding planners already know this, so that's one of the reasons why I don't stress it, because wedding planners, the typical wedding planner I run into already has the questionnaire and all whatnot. So she already has 10 to 20 questions that she asks, and it becomes very apparent to the wedding planner the more she speaks to the bride and the groom whether they are a fit or not. And she knows whether let's do this or whether let me just shank these people, let me just avoid, let me ghost, or whatever. So that's why a sales process is really important, and is much more important than the contracting process, because for those of you who are contract led, you just kind of assume that the contract covers everything and that people can read and that they're adults, and so you should just read the contract and caveat emptor, buyer beware. It was in the contract, you read it, you should have been much more diligent. You should have been an adult. You should have read everything that I sent to you, and that's just not it. Anyway, I'm going to point out that I'm setting up a false dilemma. Yes, I know, because it's not a matter of either a contracting process or an optimum sales framework, but it's a matter of having both. So you need both an optimum sales framework, sales process, sales script, sales template, sales philosophy, whatever it is you want to call it. And then you also need optimum back-end functions, contracting, invoicing, and all those other things as well. So it's both. They are both important. I guess what I'm just trying to say is that in the beginning, when you're stepping into this business, you need to pay a lot more attention to the selling process than the other back-end stuff. Because in the beginning, you go to UTC, you have somebody design professional invoice books for you and receipts and everything, and you pay somebody for the logo and the everything. Like, what are you wasting all this money for? you don't even have any clients yet. So go out and sell first and get the ball rolling and smoothing out the sales process, and then you can worry about all these things in time. But as relates to selling and contracting, really the most important reason why the selling function is more important is because if you pay attention to the sales process, you follow your sales philosophy, it's being customer led. You're getting into what they really want, and so long as you stick to that process, there is very little reason for why quarrel should ensue during the wedding or after the wedding, because you have found out what it is that they want, and your job pretty much is to deliver according to spec. So that's a summary of my rant today. Sales process over contracting process in the beginning, because the sales process helps you reduce friction in the buying and selling process, is going to establish trust, and is going to help you find out exactly what it is that they need. Because really, when the quarrel arises and then people start pulling out contracts or emails to say, no, you sent this is what you signed and all whatnot, it's because there was a failure in expectations. The bride thought it was going to be one thing, you thought it was going to be another thing, and that's why you guys are quarreling right now. So if you have an optimum sales process, you're not going to run into that problem, because your sales process will lead you to ask the right questions, to gain feedback, and to qualify. And both the bride and the groom and the members of the family are going to be absolutely clear on what it was that you guys agreed in the first place, and there isn't going to be any quarrel. So let me wrap it up here on the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. Thank you guys very much for your time and attention. I will catch you guys on the next episode, where we will keep on the discussion about more sales and contract related stuff, at least for the next couple of episodes, before we branch off into some more juicy stuff. So you guys have a wonderful day.